Welcome everybody. I built this small video to demonstrate how you can use SQL Developer to draw ER diagrams and then use your ER diagrams to build your database schema. It is a three-step process. You start with your ER diagram, or we call it the logical design, and then based on that you build uh, relational design, which is the your physical database model, and then you create the DDL script, which is SQL statements, a set of SQL statements to build your database. So let's start. When you open your SQL Developer, you don't see the designer panes. So it's just only have one pane for the SQL connections. You start with the top menu. Under the top menu, you have view. Under the view, the top option is data modeler. Under the data modeler, there is a browser option. So you click on that view, data modeler, browser. When you click on, immediately on the left hand pane, you see the browser window, a small panel. Under that, there's one blank canvas. You can use this blank canvas called in untitled to draw your first diagram. Or if you wish, you can add a new canvas, but it is okay to use this the blank canvas. To start with, you just click on the small the plus symbol to open up the blank canvas, and there are a number of options under the design canvas, and we basically use only the logical model panel. And of course there's another one called relational model, and in fact that's where we can uh, generate your physical design. However, we start with the logical model. um, on the logical model, right click, and then there's a show button. Just click on that. When you click that, you see that on the center there was another blank canvas appears. You can use this space to draw your diagram. When this logical design panel appears, you should notice that the top, the buttons have changed as well. So there are quite a few useful ones. The first one is the one to generate entities, to add new entity, and then there are a number of different the relationship buttons as well. We'll use as they required. Let's start with a very small model. Say students enroll in programs. A student can enroll in one program, and of course the opposite, the programs can have many students. And then the student can exist with no programs, and programs can exist with no students. So that's my simple example. Let's start with the students. Click on here to add a new entity. Okay, and drag a small box here. On this dialog box, you can enter the name of the entity and the list of attributes. Say name is student. Okay, apply. Don't close the dialog box because you haven't entered the attributes. Click on attributes, and then there was a area that you can add new attributes, and now we can define their domains, whether what type of data and so on. Click on this plus symbol to add a new attribute. The first attribute is say student number. Okay, and when you add a new attribute, you need to tell what data type is it. We haven't defined any data domain, so therefore we cannot use the domain option, but we can use the default data types under this logical option. Tick that one, and then under this drop down list you can choose the data type. Since the student number can have the alphabetic characters as well, so we can choose varchar. It's a variable length character string. For that, we need to give the max size. Let's say the 10 is the max length for that attribute. And since the student number is the primary key, you need to state by just taking this primary key notation. So you're now ready to apply it. So now you can go to the next. So press this plus button again to add the second attribute. Let's say student name. And again, it's logical. Say variable length character string, vacha, and say the length is 100 characters. Names are longer than the other. Right. And it is not a primary key, so therefore you don't apply that. You don't click on the primary key tick. And say we have just one last attribute, say student date of birth. Say it is date. So you can click date here. Apply. Okay. Now your entity is ready. So you can just repeat the same again for the program. I quickly say click in here, drag it up here, program, apply, attributes, add an attribute, program code. Okay, and it's logical attribute, say variable length character string with say 10 characters, and it's the primary key. Take it here, don't forget about that, and apply. Another attribute at the next, say program title, and again it's just a default data type, say variable string, say 100 characters, apply. Okay, so now we have two entities ready to say join. So it is a one to many, so one program many students, don't forget about the direction, and also that the both sides are partial. So we can pick this one. It is called new one to many relationship, and it is going from one to many side. Okay, so the program is in the many side, and the both sides are optional. So we need to tick in this the source and the target. The both ends are optional, so that just ticked, and then apply and okay. So now you see that this dotted lines, the both ends are dotted, and then cardinality indicates with this the profit notation. One program, many students. Now ER model is ready. Now it is the next step is to convert into the physical model. You see this the double arrow notation here, the button here. It's called engineer to relational model. So that's the one we use to build the physical model. Okay, click on that one. Now we are engineering, or we call the forward engineering into the uh, physical model. Click on the engineer button here at the bottom. It's just at the bottom of the your screen. Click on that, and before that you need to check whether it is converting the all required items, entities, hierarchies, relations views, sub views. We don't have any of those, but we can just keep that one in case that eventually we wanted to use extra view, create views and things as well. Generally speaking, the default options are okay, and then you engineer into the physical design. So now when you click that one, you'll see that there's a new panel appeared. Originally we were working on this one, the logical panel, and this is the one that system generated. Now you see some differences between the design and it's just a simple ER model with the attributes and the entities and attributes, but here we have some additional information like what the data type, and which is the primary key. In the student relation, the primary key is the student number. Here the primary key is denoted as a program code, and it identifies the common attribute that can be used for the foreign key. The program code, which is the primary key in this side, appears as the foreign key here. It is just added to that design. So now it is ready to create the DDL script. On when you we are in the relational tab, on this tab you will see that there was a button up at the very end. It's called generate DDL. Okay, so that's the button. So click on that generate DDL button. A new dialog box appears. That's where you can generate the your DDL script. Click on the generate at the top, and again it asks which types of the elements that you wanted to insert or embed into your script. Just use the defaults and say OK. Now you see that it has generated your SQL script to build tables. So it creates the tables, and after creating, they all try to insert constraints like the primary key or foreign keys. So that will simply build two tables with the required the constraints. And once you do that, you can just save your script. You can save it to your local drive wherever you like to save. Okay. So I called it the first DTL. Okay. Say version 2 and save it. Okay. And now your script is ready. So now you can go back and then you can open up your SQL editor. Use that one to build your tables. All done. Thank you very much.